I stood frozen in the dimly lit hallway of my parents' house, the wrapped gift box growing heavier in my grip as their laughter filtered through the slightly ajar dining room door. The sound wasn't warm or festive, it was sharp, rehearsed, laced with the kind of amusement that comes from turning someone else's life into punchlines. They were practicing a Christmas skit, and I was the unwitting star, the mechanic daughter, the one who didn't belong in their polished world. My mother's voice rose in mock exaggeration as she delivered lines about greasy fingerprints ruining the family china, followed by my father's timed chuckle and my siblings' perfectly synced giggles. Then came the closer, delivered so casually it sliced deeper than any joke. "We'll read the will right after. It'll hit harder that way." That single sentence changed everything. The will, the one that cut me out because my grandfather had deemed my career unbecoming of the Harper name. They weren't just joking. They were setting the stage for public humiliation at the church event, ensuring everyone understood why I didn't deserve a share. My breath caught, the hallway suddenly feeling narrower, colder. I backed away silently, boots whispering against the tile, and slipped out into the December chill without a word. No confrontation, no tears in that moment, just a quiet decision forming in the pit of my stomach. But to understand how I got there, holding that box like a shield, you have to go back. The Harper family home in Plano, Texas, always looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. White columns framing the entrance, manicured lawns that stayed emerald even in winter, interiors with gleaming hardwood floors, crystal chandeliers casting soft golden light that made every surface Instagram perfect. My sister Madison curated that aesthetic relentlessly as a full-time lifestyle influencer and part-time esthetician, staging photo shoots in the sunroom with fresh flowers and artisanal coffee mugs. My father, Victor Harper, built his empire on high-end custom furniture and lighting stores, places where a single designer lamp cost more than a month's rent for most families. He carried himself with the quiet authority of a man who measured success in square footage and client testimonials. My mother, Sophia, orchestrated charity galas and church committees with military precision, her wardrobe a rotation of tailored blouses and pearls that screamed refined elegance. My older brother Ethan, a rising surgical resident, was the golden child whose achievements were framed and hung in the hallway like trophies. I was the outlier from the start. At 18, sitting in our kitchen with the scent of rosemary roasted chicken filling the air, my mother's signature for important family dinners, I announced my plan to pursue automotive engineering at the local community college before transferring. The spoon my father was holding clattered onto the marble counter, the metallic ring echoing like an accusation. Sophia paused mid-stir, her eyes widening in that slow, buffering way she had when processing something that didn't fit her script. Ethan hid a smirk behind his water glass. Madison let out a quick, cutting laugh that bounced off the cabinets. "You want a what?" Victor asked, his voice low and even, but the disappointment hung in the air like smoke. No one said it outright, but the silence painted the picture. That's not who we are. Harper's pursued prestigious, clean professions, medicine, business, content that built brands. Not getting hands dirty under car hoods in a garage filled with the tang of motor oil and exhaust. From that day, the subtle digs became routine, like background noise you learn to tune out but never fully ignore. Sophia would leave printed job postings on the counter for administrative roles or customer service gigs, sliding them over with a gentle smile. This might offer more stability, Riley, and it wouldn't leave those marks on your hands when you're around people. She gestured vaguely at the faint grease lines etched into my skin, the ones that soap and scrubbing never fully erased, especially after a long day wrenching on engines. Ethan, home on breaks from residency, would clap me on the shoulder with practiced bedside manner. "Be careful with all that heavy lifting and machinery. One wrong move, and it could derail everything. As if my path was already a cautionary tale. Madison filmed her polished videos in the living room under ring lights, talking about mindful living and elegant routines, wrinkling her nose theatrically if I passed by. Ugh. Garage fumes again. Guys, she'd laugh to her followers, who flooded comments with laughing emojis and heart reactions. I learned to walk softer at gatherings, keep my voice measured, hide my work boots in the mudroom. Quiet kept the peace. Quiet preserved their image. One evening stuck with me vividly. After a family dinner, I stood at the sink, hot water steaming over my hands as I scrubbed plates. Laughter erupted behind me from a joke I wasn't included in. I glanced down at the oil crescent under my thumbnail, stubborn and dark against the suds. In that steam-filled moment, the realization settled heavy. This house had decided who I was allowed to be, and it wasn't the version I was becoming. But what they never saw, what they chose not to notice amid their embarrassment, was the fire I was stoking in silence. By 21, I'd scraped together savings from 3 part-time jobs during college, waitressing nights, tutoring math afternoons, weekend shifts at a local auto shop, and opened my first small garage in a modest industrial park outside Dallas. One bay. Basic tools. Me handling everything from oil changes to diagnostics. Words spread about honest work at fair prices. By 25, I'd expanded to 4 locations across the metro area, hired a solid crew, and quietly invested profits into commercial real estate through an LLC my accountant friend Jordan helped establish. I owned several properties now, including one key commercial building in Plano housing upscale retail spaces. My family never asked details. At holidays, they'd eye the lingering grease on my knuckles and assume struggle. Pitying glances saying I needed saving. They had no clue I was thriving, financially independent, building equity they couldn't touch. The pattern of invisibility persisted until that December evening. I'd arrived early at the family home, gift box in hand, a thoughtful custom tool set I'd selected after closing the shop, wrapped neatly despite my calloused fingers. The house glowed invitingly against the winter dusk, but stepping inside felt like crossing into enemy territory. Sophia's voice echoed from deeper inside, rehearsing church program details. Victor's steady baritone drew me down the hall past framed photos, Ethan centered in every shot, Madison glowing in perfect light. The dining room door stood cracked, golden light spilling out. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but my name stopped me cold. Riley, Sophia said, practicing the delivery like a comedy bit. Laughter rippled. She'll wear the coveralls. Obviously, the blue one stained with oil. Fits the theme perfectly. Ethan added a polite chuckle. The miniature wrench prop and the bit about fingerprints on the silverware will kill. Madison chimed in. The congregation will eat it up. Light-hearted family roast. Papers rustled, script pages. Then Victor's line landed like the final blow. We'll read Grandfathers will write after the skit. It'll land better that way. Make the exclusion feel earned. My chest tightened. Grandfather's estate had bypassed me entirely per his letter, citing my unconventional choices as unbecoming. They planned to parade that publicly after mocking me on stage, turning exclusion into justified entertainment. The box crinkled under my tightening grip. No one noticed me in the shadows. I retreated silently, the chill outside hitting like a slap as I set the gift on the porch bench and walked to my truck. The engine rumbled to life. Neighborhood lights streaking past as I drove. Phone buzzing with event reminders I ignored. Pulling into a quiet 24-hour gas station lot. Frost glistening on the pavement under buzzing neon. I killed the engine and let the silence wrap around me. The faint motor oil scent from the cloth in my jacket pocket grounded me, the same cloth that had wiped tools through countless late shifts and long drives. For the first time, it felt like armor, not a stain. I dialed Jordan, my accountant and closest confidant since the garage days. She answered steady as ever. "Everything okay?" Instead of answering, I asked her to pull the lease file for my Plano Commercial LLC. She paused, then confirmed. Scrolling on my phone, the truth crystallized. My flagship property, the one housing Victor's primary furniture and lighting showroom, the crown jewel he bragged about at every gathering, was leased to his company through my LLC. I owned the building. Payments showed 3 months overdue. Late fees mounting. A market rate increase pending. And non-renewal clauses highlighted from months ago during routine reviews. It wasn't personal then. Now it burned with clarity. "They're tenants on your property," Jordan said softly. "And they're behind." The neon flickered rhythmically outside. I leaned back, letting the weight settle, not rage, but a cold, procedural resolve. "What now?" she asked. "Everything by the book," I replied, voice even. We began outlining steps, notices, ledgers, verifications. My fingers moved across the laptop screen in the truck cab, drafting documents with clinical precision: default notice, rent adjustment based on comps, non-renewal warning, ownership proofs listing landlord as my LLC. Each keystroke built a line I refused to cross anymore. Jordan's comment about it being my return gift didn't elicit a laugh. It was simply a boundary drawn in ink. The gas station lot remained nearly deserted as I finalized the packet, timestamping each document, attaching payment histories and market analyses Jordan had prepped. The courier service confirmation pinged. Same-day delivery scheduled for Christmas Eve at 6:30 p.m. sharp to the church banquet hall where the family event unfolded. I closed the laptop, wiped my hands on the oilcloth, and stared out at the dark highway. The decision felt clean, inevitable, like torquing a bolt until it seated perfectly, no emotion clouding the mechanics. Just necessity. Driving away, the neighborhood receded, but memories flooded in to fill the quiet. Growing up, family dinners were performances of perfection. Victor would hold court about store expansions, Sophia coordinating seating charts for galas, Ethan recounting med school triumphs, Madison snapping photos for her feed. I'd sit quietly, contributing minimally, my contributions dismissed with polite nods or subtle redirects. One Thanksgiving stands out. I just closed my second garage location and mentioned expanding services to fleet maintenance. Madison had laughed lightly. "That's cute, Riley. But don't you think it's time for something more presentable?" Victor changed the subject to Ethan's residency match. The grease under my nails became a running family shorthand for otherness. Yet those years built more than calluses. Late nights in the shop taught resilience, the satisfaction of diagnosing a subtle engine knock others missed. Restoring a classic car to purr like new. Clients became chosen family, praising reliability over polish. Investments grew steadily because I researched meticulously, avoiding flashy risks. The LLC purchase of that Plano property happened almost by chance during a market dip. I viewed it as diversification, never anticipating its personal tie. Now, reviewing the lease logs in the truck's pale screen glow revealed missed notices sent to Victor's assistant-handled email, minor admin he ignored. 3 months arrears. Compounding fees. A clause allowing immediate market adjustment amid rising Dallas area commercial rents. Non-renewal could force relocation within 60 days. Jordan stayed on speaker as we verified ownership docs. Cross-checked clauses for airtight legality. Texas property law favored landlords in clear default scenarios, especially with documented notices. No revenge theatrics, just enforceable terms. "This draws the line," I told her. "They plan to erase me publicly. This reminds them I'm not invisible." She understood without needing elaboration. The packet uploaded securely. Ready for courier pickup. I sat in the truck longer than planned, the vending machine humming distantly, letting the procedural calm wash over the raw hurt of overheard laughter. Christmas Eve arrived with its familiar rituals, though I wasn't there to witness the initial setup. The church hall in Plano bustled with poinsettias, garlands draped elegantly, soft lights illuminating the stage where Sophia directed volunteers like a conductor. Early relatives mingled in the adjacent banquet room, sipping cider, chatting about holiday plans. Victor rehearsed his welcome remarks, adjusting his tie and reflections. Ethan smoothed his jacket. Madison checked her phone camera obsessively. Children's choir practiced carols nearby, voices rising sweetly. The courier arrived precisely at 6:47, weaving through decorations with a stack of crisp white envelopes marked official. He requested Sophia Harper by name. She accepted with a gracious smile, assuming donations or late RSVPs. Tearing the first seal under bright overhead lights, her face shifted, confusion first, then sharp shock as pages spilled. Notice of default. Detailed ledger showing arrears. Revised rent calculations. Non-renewal notice citing lease violations. Ownership verification prominently listing landlord, Riley Harper, via Harper Properties LLC. Her hands trembled, flipping pages rapidly. Victor approached. "What is it?" She handed him the stack silently. Ethan scanned one sheet, jaw clenching. "This is the showroom lease. Riley owns the building." Madison leaned in, eyes widening. "Wait. Our store is on her property." Murmurs rippled. The pastor paused instructions to the camera crew. Stage lights dimmed slightly as if sensing disruption. An aunt whispered nearby, "Why send this tonight of all nights?" Sophia's voice emerged thin. "This can't be right. She wouldn't. She doesn't have that kind of." But the documents confirmed it unequivocally. Victor's face drained of color, finger tracing overdue columns. Late fees. The business email he neglected. 3 months behind wasn't minor anymore. At 7:02, calls began. My phone stayed silent initially as I stood on the porch of a rented cabin in the Colorado Rockies. Snow drifting lazily. Fresh air sharp in my lungs. Jordan chopped vegetables inside, humming. The fireplace crackling warmly. Sophia's first call hit voicemail. The second and third followed frantically. On the third, I answered. Her breathing came ragged. Background noise chaotic, chairs scraping. Whispers.
Hast fled sob.
"Where are you?" Riley, not concern, but desperation to patch the cracking facade before the program imploded. Snowflakes settled on my gloves as I watched them melt. "Did you enjoy the gift?" I asked evenly. Silence stretched, stunned and inward collapsing. She stammered. "We can discuss this. Whatever you think you heard." "I heard exactly what you rehearsed," I continued steadily. "The coveralls, the oil jokes, wrench props, the will reading to justify my exclusion. You planned to make me the punchline, so the church, relatives, everyone would see why I didn't fit. Why I deserved nothing." Her breath hitched sharply. It was lighthearted. She tried weakly. "No," I said. It was a reminder of my place, and it clarified mine. Wind carried static into her voice. "I won't discuss tonight. Route all through the LLC inbox. Details on letterhead." She protested. "You can't just, I already did." I let silence linger. Not punitive, but final distance measured. Then I ended the call. Snow continued falling steadily outside the cabin as I pocketed the phone, the flakes erasing footprints on the porch steps. Inside, the warmth from the fire and Jordan's quiet presence offered shelter without questions. She knew my history, the years of sidelong glances, the role of family outsider, and respected the space silence provided. I checked email once. Victor's message topped the list. Curt and professional. No greeting, no recriminations. Just logistics on lease, transfer points, payment schedules.
Opérationnel en off contact.
For the first time, he addressed me as landlord, not daughter. My reply matched the tone. Concise. Boundary defined.
No personal o overtures.
The morning after Christmas brought deep quiet the Harper home never allowed. No rehearsed laughter seeping through doors. No curated lighting or stage whispers, just whined through snow-laden pines and the fireplace's gentle pop. I sat with coffee on the porch, boots carving fresh prints in the undisturbed blanket of white. The oil mark on my thumbnail caught the rising sun, a familiar badge from the night I'd left Plano. In the family context, it symbolized embarrassment here. It represented chosen work, honest effort. Flashbacks filled idle moments. Early garage days tested limits, doubting clients. Cash flow squeezes. Late repairs under fluorescent lights, while others celebrated milestones. But successes compounded loyal repeat customers, crew camaraderie, the pride of expanding bays without fanfare. Investments in properties like the Plano commercial lot stemmed from calculated risks during market lulls, vetted thoroughly with Jordan's guidance. Never had I linked it emotionally to Victor's showroom until overhearing the skit crystallized the irony. His pride operated on land I controlled quietly. Payments funneled through overlooked channels. Jordan joined me eventually, handing a fresh mug without probing. We discussed next steps minimally. Lawyers would handle lease enforcement, potential relocation for the store to a smaller site. I didn't block the process but enforced terms. No extensions granted lightly. Market rates applied. Boundaries weren't cruelty. They protected what I'd built alone. The documents sent weren't vengeful but declarative. I see the patterns. And I choose not to shrink anymore. By afternoon, texts trickled and filtered through LLC channels. Ethan sent one brief note, polite, distant, acknowledging the situation without apology. Madison unfollowed on social platforms. A small but telling withdrawal. Sophia's calls ceased entirely. The church program details remained unknown to me, whether the skit proceeded, if the will reading happened amid chaos, or if whispers spread. Honestly, it no longer mattered. Their narrative no longer dictated mine. Reflecting deeper, the core wound wasn't the grease or job choice but the erasure, being reduced to entertainment. A seasonal joke justifying inheritance omission. Grandfather's letter, discovered years prior in old files, stung with its formal dismissal of my path as lesser. The skit plan weaponized that publicly, amplifying years of micro-rejections into spectacle. My response, legal and precise, mirrored their procedural family image back at them, by the book, emotionless on surface, but carrying the weight of accumulated silence finally spoken. Hiking snow trails with Jordan later that day cleared mental fog. Crisp air. Physical exertion. Shared meals prepared slowly over the stove. These grounded me in presence. No need to fill quiet with performance. Returning to Texas after the week wouldn't mean Plano, but my primary garage hub. The bays humming with work I valued. Oil stains persisted, but hiding them ended. Clients appreciated competence over presentation. So did I. The moral lingered unspoken yet heavy. Family expectations can forge invisible chains. But recognizing one's worth demands drawing lines, even painful ones. Underestimating quiet persistence invites reckoning, not through drama, but undeniable facts. I hadn't sought revenge. I'd claimed space. What remained was breathing room, the snow erasing old tracks, allowing new ones unburdened. Weeks unfolded in Colorado with deliberate slowness. Mornings involved sweeping fresh powder from railings, splitting kindling, repairing a loose cabin hinge, small fixes restoring order, without personal cost. The oil crescent on my thumbnail stayed visible. No longer a source of shame, but proof of autonomy. Victor's emails remained strictly business, timelines for arrears settlement. Relocation scouting. Formal notices exchanged via attorneys.
No olive branches.
No family reckoning, just transactional resolution befitting landlord-tenant dynamics under Texas commercial statutes. Jordan and I reviewed lease enforcement options thoroughly. Default triggered fees accruing daily, non-renewal notice provided 60-day window for vacating, with market comps justifying increases of nearly 20% amid Dallas growth. Ownership proofs. LLC filings. Payment histories, all ironclad. Reviewed by counsel to avoid disputes. The process felt empowering in its detachment. No raised voices. Just enforceable clauses Victor's assistant had ignored at his peril. Backstory reflections deepened during quiet evenings by the fire. Childhood holidays blurred into performances, Sophia's gala planning eclipsing personal milestones. Victor's store metrics overshadowing my report cards. Ethan's awards celebrated while my shop openings went unmentioned. Madison's content creation turned family moments into curated highlights. Editing out imperfections like my presence felt like one. The kitchen announcement at 18 crystallized rejection. Victor's dropped spoon. Sophia's buffered stare. Sibling smirks. Subsequent job slips. Sympathy pats. Nose wrinkles in videos reinforced the role, quiet observer. Grease-marked anomaly. Yet garage growth defied assumptions. First location bootstrapped painfully. Sourcing use lifts. Building client trust through word-of-mouth diagnostics, no chain shop matched. Expansion to 4 sites involved strategic hires. Inventory management. Cash flow discipline learned from 3 jobs. Real estate pivot at 25 capitalized on savings and market timing. The Plano commercial acquisition via auction yielded long-term leases, including Victor's unaware. Jordan flagged risks early, but supported diversification. Emotional disconnect persisted until the hallway eavesdrop fused personal and professional. The courier delivery's impact, pieced from indirect accounts later, painted disruption. Sophia's breaking expression under lights. Victor paling. Ethan's tightened jaw. Madison's widened eyes. Pastor and choir pausing. Relatives murmuring. Program delayed. Whispers questioning the mechanic daughter as secret landlord. Whether skit or will reading occurred remained speculative. Chaos likely prevailed. My absence spoke volumes. Unavailable for salvage. Forcing confrontation with consequences. Phone silence from Sophia carried finality. No further pleas.
Acknowledging the boundary.
Ethan's single text acknowledged logistics politely. Madison's unfollow symbolized retreat from narrative control. Store relocation to peripheral site proceeded functionally. Smaller footprint, but operational continuity. No sabotage. Just no leniency. Legal channels handled all. Preserving professionalism. Moral questions surfaced. Was enforcing lease proportionate to overheard cruelty? Legally, yes. Ethically layered. Their plan weaponized public shame to affirm hierarchy. My actions asserted equality through facts. Family bonds strained, but not severed. Professional distance allowed potential future repair on mutual terms. Not obligation. Silence as shelter. Distance as respect. Hikes revealed trails buried under snow. Each step deliberate. Cabin routines, meals savored. Fire tended, replaced performance with authenticity. Oil-marked hands gripped mugs comfortably. Return to Texas meant garages. Crew greetings. Engines awaiting attention. Life on my terms. Unapologetic. Final days in Colorado, solidified shifts. Snow erased prior footprints metaphorically and literally, allowing fresh paths. Victor's correspondence finalized transitions, payments caught up partially. Relocation confirmed.
Contact exchanged.
Attorneys ensured compliance, avoiding court if possible. No personal reconciliation emails arrived, underscoring changed dynamics, landlord status reframing interactions. Deeper reflection on core message. Expectations rooted in image can stifle authenticity, turning differences into deficits. My mechanic path. Dismissed as unbecoming. Proved viable. Prosperous, even. Overhearing the skit exposed intent, not mere jest but erasure reinforcement by a public spectacle and will exclusion. Countering via lease authority drew a line. Visibility claimed. Invisibility rejected. Jordan's steadfast support highlighted chosen connections over blood ties strained by judgment. Cabin quiet fostered introspection. Boundaries protect without punishing. Enabling breathing room. Moral ambiguity lingered. Justice or escalation. Professional enforcement upheld fairness. Mirroring their image consciousness back procedurally. Drive back to Texas, bypass Plano. Heading to Garage Hub. Bays bustled. Tools clinked. Engines hummed. Work grounding. Fulfilling. Oil stains endured unhidden. Marks of pride. Clients valued results. Self-validation followed. Family interactions funneled professionally. Potential thawing distant but possible. The lingering echo. Underestimation invites surprise. Quiet builds unseen strength. Family's mockery intended diminishment. Response asserted worth. Distance respects self first. What one refuses to carry frees space for chosen life. Snow's erasure taught release. Oil's persistence. Endurance. Boundaries. Once set. Reshape stories, mine now independent. Theirs adjusted by reality. In the end, the gift wasn't cruelty, but clarity. Overheard plans backfired into self-reckoning. Standing firm left questions. How do we measure belonging beyond polish? When does protection become exclusion? My path answered through action. Honest. Legal. Final. The cabin quiet echoed longest. Peace and autonomy. Strength in measure response.